Hey man, have you seen my... Oh, Carmelita. Oh Lord, Carmelita. Maybe Carmelita is just his, girlfriend he doesn't have. Oh, Carmelita Fox from the Sly Cooper games. I remember he was conflicted. Now let me say I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you... Oh, no! I had no idea how to open the video. Yeah, reviewing the Sly Cooper games. No reason, just wanted to. But I guess I should explain what this era of gaming really was. The PS1 was home to so many iconic video game franchises. The Metal Gear Solid games would begin their run on the PS1, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon made their debut, and even the smaller ones like Parappa the Rapper. Hell, that one appeared in the PlayStation Smash ripoff that nobody liked. Look, if you can be compared to Nathan Drake, you made an impact. The franchises that debuted on the PS1 often were considered game changers. Metal Gear Solid for sure changed the stealth genre and gave it a new face. Crash Bandicoot showcased just how difficult a so-called children's game can be while also being fun. And Spyro the Dragon changed the name of platformers and what should all be included in one. But many comment that while the PS2 wasn't barren of exclusives, on the contrary, they thrived just as well, they didn't quite change the game as much as the PS1 exclusives did. At most, they just kind of followed what the PS1 games created. I don't know, I still like the exclusives in the PS2 era, but not nearly as much as the PS1 era. That is, except for one. Sly Cooper. A creation of Sucker Punch, Sly Cooper debuted on the PS2 in 2002, and has spawned 4 games between that time and 2013, alongside small spin-offs and of course a spot in the aforementioned PlayStation Smash ripoff. With a spot in a game like that, you'd think the Sly Cooper games were huge, and while I haven't seen that many videos covering the series, I do see the fandom and what they're passionate about when it comes to the games. Especially, we'll get to her, trust me. Of the 4 games, 3 of them released on the PS2, while the last game would release on the PS3. The last game was a bitch to emulate, trust me. Well, I got 4 games to get to, so let's dive in. The first game came out in 2002. On the surface, this might look like your everyday platformer with a cute main character and puzzles galore, but the game presents itself with a new style of stealth. Put in retrospective, Metal Gear Solid set a golden standard of stealth games. Very few games have successfully copied the formula and made something new. So imagine my surprise when one of the few games to do that had a protagonist who looks like... Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, there are very few games that look like this. It's very early PS2, but it's a unique style, and for an early PS2 game, that's something. We hear the story multiple times, but to summarize, Sly Cooper here, voiced in all 4 games by Kevin Miller, comes from a long lineup of master thieves and was next in line. Their family heritage is the Thievius Raccoonus, a book with ancient Cooper thieving skills and techniques. But the night it was to be passed down to him, a group known as the Fiendish Five showed up and killed Sly's dad, orphaning him. From there, he meets Bentley and Murray, and that leads us to this game where he works to recover the Thievius Raccoonus, such the name. Honestly, like I said, after Metal Gear Solid, it's hard to make a unique and different stealth game, but that's what this does. The stealth feels different from Metal Gear Solid. For one, it's way more beneficial to use the stealth rather than just go in guns blazing. The enemies are tough, and you die in one hit. You die in one hit?! That's problem number 1. Yeah, they changed that in Sly 2, but in this game, it utilizes a basic one-hit death system, and it gets really annoying. They also have a life system. Why? You can continue from the level you're on. What's the use of a life system? Again, they changed that in Sly 2, and I can forgive that they were just testing waters here.
You foolish raccoon. I've caught you red-handed.
Oh yeah, look at this fox. Literally, Carmelita Fox, the only one of the main 4 to simply never have the same voice actor throughout the games. Yeah, Kevin Miller was always Sly, Matt Olson always played Bentley, and Chris Murphy always played Murray. First game, Carmelita was voiced by Roxana Ortega. Sly 2, she was voiced by Alicia Glidewell. Sly 3, she was voiced by Ruth Liviere. And Sly 4, she was voiced by Gray Griffin. With that said, she's hot in all 4 of them, so... Yeah, she's an interesting character outside of design because she's Sly's love interest and yet she is constantly trying to arrest him. It makes for a very unique character, and a character dynamic. And also, her hips don't lie, I'm not even going to try to hide that I had a furry crush on her. She actually introduces the format of some of my favorite levels, Carmelita Chase levels, alongside being one of the only levels I never died on. Yeah, for being such a hostile threat, she sure is easy to get away from. It's fun to dodge and weave from her shock pistol blasts. Look at her design, you already know they were in the studio like, we need those Carmelita scenes today, Paul! Got one hand here.
You can't escape me, raccoon!
Oh look, he got away from you, idiot. Something that did annoy me, however, was Bentley. I can't stand this character, dude. I hear so many people say, oh, he's so cute. We love our little nerd turtle. Oh, Nerdle! I hate him. His voice never grew on me. They played around with how Murray sounded throughout the series, and Murray actually became one of my favorite characters. But Bentley, he has the same nasally whine that so many nerd characters, especially in video games, had at the time. Though if a new Sly ever were to come out these days, I'd love to see Bentley pull something like this. Sly, you gotta pass up on these bodies like John Stockton. Beat you acid out the Bible if God watching. So yeah, decent platforming, unique stealth, and someone I'm definitely not gonna fantasize about. Seems like a decent time, right? What is this? Why is this happening? What the hell is this? Why is this? What is this? Explain yourself. Why? Why? What? I'm not a fan of this game's identity crisis. Yeah, like I said, certain things in this game were clearly experimental, testing waters. And one of those things that, thank God, they toned down in the sequels were the countless mini-game levels that really plagued this game for me. To give you an idea of how bad these get, for me, the worst levels were really any of the Murray levels. For as much as I love Murray as a character, his levels are incredibly annoying, because they come in two varieties, racing and protecting him from bad guys. We'll start with the racing levels, as I found them infinitely worse. Across the game's 4 major zones, Murray has 2 races, and both of them are because his fat ass saw a burger joint and he hopped on it. That'd be me though. It wouldn't be if I knew I had a race like this to get a Whopper Jr. and some chicken fries! Some psychopath must have mapped out the racing controls because rather than the regular R2 button to accelerate, you know, common freaking sense, instead, we have to use the analog stick. Honestly, if I went back in time to the dev room for this game and it was just Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, and a British breakfast, I wouldn't be surprised because only madmen would make this analog stick the driving force. As much as I hated Cars Race-O-Rama, they had the decency to make R2 the drive button. And the protecting him thing can get annoying too because clearly Bundy got behind the wheel again because they inverse the turret controls. What kind of serial killer uses invert? Even the Murray level that doesn't directly involve Murray pisses me off. It's the entrance to Clockwork's lair in the last episode where we're shooting and having to keep the van intact. Remember, one-hit death. Could Murray drive this any slower? The fact that it doesn't matter how far I made it, it takes one hit to send me back to the beginning. There's nothing wrong with variety in gameplay, but there's variety and then there's identity crisis, and this one definitely plays into the latter. One thing that does actually work in the variety's favor is the boss fights. These are some solid-ass boss fights. The Frog is good, gives you a decent challenge. Mugshot is also a decent challenge with the turning the mirrors towards him thing. Ms. Ruby is genuinely a top 15 best boss fights of all time for me. The Bandit King took some time, but I got it. The Clockwork boss fight eats cheeks. I hated this boss fight. To give you an idea, I recorded Slide 1 in 2 parts, the second part being 4 hours long. I kid you not, a good hour of that was just me figuring out the Clockwork fight. Because of the one-hit deal, I kept dying in stupid ways with no room for error. It really wouldn't be that bad if the one-hit thing didn't suck. Also, see these bottles lying around? Each level has a set amount of clues you need to gather to retrieve a special move that you can use later. Only problem is, I kept missing 1 or 2 and I didn't care enough to go back and get them. Again, a thing they did tweak in the sequels. Oh, what? Bentley has 1 level? I'm sure it's of course, it's one of my favorite levels in the game. Don't get it wrong, I like this game fine. The stealth is great, the platforming is great, and did I mention the music and sound design? Banger. I really think if they toned down the variety of the levels, they may have had a 9 out of 10 game on their hands. But I guess an 8 out of 10 ain't bad either. So all things considered, I liked Sly 1, but I didn't love it like I thought I would. Is it the same for the sequels? Sly 2 is one of the objectively greatest video game sequels I have ever played. No joke, after I played this, I reevaluated my top 10 video game sequels of all time, and Sly 2, for me, ranked number 4, only beaten out by Red Dead 2, Batman Arkham City, and Baldur's Gate 3. This game is that good. It's almost like any issues I had with the first game were immediately 180'd in this. I liked the story more, the little issues are fixed, and it made for an overall damn good time, mostly good time. I like that this time we're gathering the pieces of Clockwork that are being utilized by different villains. It kinda gives a new take on the first game's story. Another thing I'm surprised I liked more was the interactive use of Bentley and Murray. And don't get me wrong, I liked just playing as Sly in the first game, but it felt like Murray was only used for the stupid races and saving his fat ass from bad guys, and Bentley only exists to piss me off. So for them to be more in the levels, especially later on, it's surprisingly well done. I like that Murray is stronger and can take down bad guys easier, and Bentley, yeah, he kinda sucks. The bomb thing is cool, I guess, but you gotta already hop through hurdles to even use it. Look at how this nerd runs. I also like most of the new characters, especially the villains. These guys are amongst my favorite villains in the franchise. I love Dimitri, his out-of-context use of the name Crackerbox is a top 10 Sly Cooper moment.
And your suit sucks.
The Spice Baron Rajan is absolutely badass. And the Contessa, talk about a video game villain. I purposely didn't stop recording this game until I saw this spider bitch in handcuffs. And who else to do it but the love of my life? I didn't care for Nayla. Look, I get she's supposed to be this mysterious double agent who helps the thieves, but also rats them out at a moment's notice, but Look at her design. Tell me the guys at Sucker Punch didn't get cocky about Carmelita and say, ooh, we can make 2 sexy policewomen in one game. And then they made the equivalent of me trying to be attracted to a cardboard box. She's not even interesting. Like, I never understood what her character was. And maybe it's just how they presented her. I learned later that Nayla worked with one of the main villains, and I'm like, really? That's her twist? I could have told you she was working against us by how many times I had to chase her ass around the levels. But back to the good stuff, I love that in this game, I'm more inclined to use the stealth. Yes, you could use the stealth in the first game, but it never felt absolutely necessary. You could just beat up the bad guys regardless. Bitch! Here, they add this cool takedown move that is just so satisfying. And guess what? You can only use it if the guard doesn't notice you. So you feel more inclined to use the stealth, and I really like that. The Carmelita chase levels are still so great, and like I said, the Bentley and Murray levels are way better than the first game. Mostly on account that you actually get to control them. I absolutely hated episode 3 of this game. It's one of the most jumbled, confusing designs of any level in any of the Sly games. To give you an idea, I had one job left that I had to do before the big heist, and I just couldn't figure out how to get up there. It took me, no joke, 45 minutes just to get to the job. And then I actually had to do the job. Thankfully, the game got immediately better when Nayla double-crossed not only Sly and Murray, but also Carmelita, and when we get to the Contessa's arc, the game immediately kicks into high gear. And I think that goes to show how likable these characters are. I wanted to save them. Jailbreak and A Tangled Web are such good levels, and I found myself just in love with it. Except for when I had to get the tank schedule and keys, that was annoying. So I had to take out each of the Contessa's guards and then pickpocket the Contessa, which is fucking annoying because if she hears the commotion, she's coming running after you and it's practically impossible to escape her. And if you get caught once, you reset completely. It got so annoying, but we up. I will say, A Tangled Web was way better than Jailbreak, and that's because the game transforms into this war-like setting. It just feels so epic and grand scale, and it's definitely a welcome change from the first game. I will say, for how great of villains like the Contessa, Dimitri, and Rajan are, the boss fights themselves are pretty lame. Sometimes they throw a little variety in there, but each of the boss fights boil down are just beat-em-ups, and that's not what made the first game's boss fight so great. I know I just talked about how annoying the final boss fight in Sly 1 was, but it was still interesting. It switched things up, and I enjoyed that. Here, the best variety we got was with Rajan as he threw in water and electricity. Carmelita in a black dress might make me crank my staff if you catch my drift. Actually, I was expecting to really be annoyed with this whole DDR session, you know, the button pressing, button pattern thing, but I actually really enjoyed it. I'm surprised. Even the minigame style levels like from the last game weren't as annoying as in the first game. And that came down to one simple thing. They toned down how many of these levels existed. I wasn't platforming one level and then defending Queso here another. No, they had way more platforming levels while also mixing in stuff like flying RC choppers and defending Bentley. It's all fun. I have to stress, this is a fun game. And man, the one-hit death thing is not missed. I enjoyed the health system way more.
Why are you doing this? Neela! She set me up. I'm an honest cop.
They know. They know. There's no way. They know what they're doing. Tell me the Sucker Punch people didn't know what they were doing when they animated this scene. Okay, I shouldn't judge them. Maybe they just wanted to add peril. That always makes a situation interesting. I mean, it's not like they do that much with Carmelita anyway.
The last person I was expecting to run into on this job was Inspector Carmelita Fox.
You knew! I don't really know what else to say. I mean, I didn't end up finishing the game because I had to record the other 2 games, but I really enjoyed it. I'm absolutely surprised. Moving on to Sly 3, which, if you can believe it, came out just a year after Sly 2, which in the game industry isn't that long. And honestly, despite only having a year in between the games, I still really like Sly 3. Not nearly as much as Sly 2, but I'd say it's the second best in the series. What I immediately like about this game is that it seems to place us in the last level first to give us kind of a cliffhanger into the game, making us want to see what happens in the end. Though I was immediately confused because I didn't get to finish Sly 2 before recording this. What happened to Bentley's legs? I do like that we move away from Clockwork this time. All the levels are pretty dang good. I think this is the best ratio of good to bad. I love the implication of dialogue options. Oddly, I thought that would kill this game for me, but it doesn't. It's actually kind of cool, all things considered. Or how about this disguise shtick where you have to repeat a button pattern to get past guards? That's pretty cool. I don't know, I really like this one's use of new techniques and strategies. There's a few variety levels this time that aren't that great. The boat driving thing is a little annoying. I found it kind of difficult to control at times. Or how about the claw level in the Outback episode? You have to be dead on with that or you're not getting anywhere. Or how about the scorpion collecting thing from the Outback episode? When your tires just can pop at a moment's notice. Like, what, they melt? Are you kidding? Or what are you in Arizona? Easily my favorite level was the Holland level. I love the aircraft competition and the introduction of one of my personal favorite characters. While on that subject, the new characters are actually really good, and even the returning ones aren't all that bad. I was half expecting the return of Dimitri to be half-assed, but he's actually pretty funny. He even called Sly a crackerbox again. What is his obsession? Of course, Carmelita's great again, and may I say, this is probably my favorite version of her. A lot of people say her appearance in Thieves in Time was better, and I see why, you pervert. If you're going to go off voice and personality, Ruth Liviere brings exactly the perfect amount of charm to the character. I'd say her and Glidewell from Sly 2 are my top two. And then there's Penelope. Talk about a breath of fresh air. You ever notice how every new female character since Carmelita has been either incredibly dull or Miss Ruby? Penelope is just a complete 180. Rather than hot, she's darn right adorable. She's voiced by Annette Tutangi, I definitely mispronounced that. Upon looking at her other roles, she was mostly a part of those weird computer games from the 90s, Freddy Fish and Pajama Sam. As a matter of fact, she voiced Freddy Fish. I say this because she's clearly got a voice that works for these kinds of characters. And I hear Penelope does make a return in Thieves in Time, so I can't wait to see where they take her. Fuck! This game also has a really funny sense of humor. The games as a whole, minus that train wreck, are written perfectly. When we meet this guru guy that Murray's been training with, he speaks some kind of language that I don't know. And you would expect that Bentley here would say something like, "Ooh da da." Yeah, I had no idea what the fuck you just said. But no, they understand everything he says. That's pretty funny. Or how about how they set up everything with Penelope to have her be attracted to Bentley, only for her to pull this out.
Anything for Sly. I love to see him pull off those athletic moves.
Look, Penelope, you're cute and all, but I have to tell ya, Sly's out of your league. Sure, they eventually hooked them up, but I found her attraction to Sly pretty funny. I thought the good levels would die out when I got to the China level because, well, we already had that in the first game. They even repeat the character from that level. But not only does this level incorporate stuff specifically in this game, we also go into the Panda King's mind, replay the boss fight from the first game, and then we find out the actual plot of this level with a forced marriage. It's actually pretty creative. I'm gonna nut, alright? Are there problems gameplay-wise? Yeah, I do think this is the easiest of the games. I like the challenge of the other two, and this one just kind of plays it straightforward. Though this is the first time Carmelita has ever hit me in any of the chase levels, though I wouldn't mind being interrogated by Carmelita. Good night, everybody. I can't leave. But overall, a pretty decent time. I'd say it wraps up everything nicely. I enjoyed it a lot. Honestly, this might be the hot take for the video, but I always thought Sly worked best as a trilogy. Not that I wouldn't mind seeing these characters more, but I think the games work as we know it wraps up and where the stories wrap up and where the characters would go. Oh yes, how could I forget? There was a fourth Sly Cooper game in 2013 for the PS3. Why? I get you want to make a Sly 4, but on the PS3 in 2013? The PS4 was on the way. Why not put it on that? It probably would have done better. Though the story is pretty alright, actually, going back in time into the different Cooper ancestors. And let me see that sexy Sly Cooper face! Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Why? Why, Sucker Punch? Why? Okay, I literally just found out Thieves in Time wasn't made by Sucker Punch. In fact, Sucker Punch had no involvement in this game, so this is my official apology ahead of time, sorry. What was wrong with the old design? Fair enough, but you didn't have to make it rapey. What's funny is that the other redesigns are actually pretty alright. Not great, but they work well. Murray's belly button being visible is a bit mean, but hey, my queso comparison is making sense now. So why make him look so weird? What's crazy is I didn't mind the gameplay overall. I can't say there's anything that new or fun about it, but it's standard enough. Huh. Penelope went missing right before a big breakthrough with Bentley? Odd, but hey, maybe she'll come back and save the day. She betrays us, doesn't she? Okay, let's talk about this, because I kid you not, this might be one of the most baffling video game moments in history. So, Penelope betrays you in the medieval level. For what fucking reason, I have no idea, but she does. And that's just kind of funny because they try to make it seem like as far back as Sly 3, Penelope was only flirting with Sly to get to his family heritage. Yeah, fucking right. It makes no sense, and they completely butcher her character for seemingly no reason. She could have been really cute, a love interest for Bentley. Sly has Carmelita, Bentley has Penelope, and Murray has a number 6 from Burger King. Everyone's happy. But no, they make her betray the gang for seemingly no reason. And I just don't get it. Also, did I mention this game isn't funny? At fucking all? But as I mentioned, this isn't Sucker Punch's fault as they had no involvement in this game. But that might explain the very drastically different art direction, especially in the cutscenes. As I mentioned, the earliest we got with this style was the short Timing is Everything. I'm not ashamed to admit this short is hot, but the style was very different from the trilogy. And I will say, I do like that the cutscenes are more animated, as opposed to the back and forth repeating animations from the trilogy. Actually, I don't mind the art direction at all. It's way flashier and more fun. Oh, but by the way, this is how the game ends. Sly's missing, and Bentley, Murray, and Carmelita go out to find him. This game came out 11 years ago, Sly died, Bentley got eaten by Murray, and Murray died after eating Arby's. End of discussion. It's not even that Thieves in Time is that bad, it's just kind of dull. Like, it doesn't do much more than the bare minimum, and I just don't see how they thought this was the next big thing for Sly. And clearly it didn't do well enough because we never got a Sly 5. But what's crazy is this is a very interesting group of characters, a fun take on stealth, and just a good trilogy of games. Even with its flaws, it was fun to look at this trilogy, alongside the fourth game that I'm not a fan of. And may I say, I went into these games completely blind. Yeah, never played any of these games up to this point. But I can safely say, what a ride. But I kind of feel bad for Sucker Punch. I mean, look at someone like Rare who makes all these weird, cute little video games, and once you make a game like that, there's no escaping it, right? Never the fuck mind!